No, we don't like each other
At
anymore.
all?
No, not anymore. We had. I mean,
Found out he been stealing the money too.
he definitely was stealing some of that migrant money.
Yeah.
But I've been knowing Brandon Johnson. When people don't know, I've been knowing Brandon Johnson since I was young, right?
Okay.
And at least since I was a teenager. And Brandon was the guy who was working for the teachers union, and they were basically kind of being a part of all our protests back then. Kind of riding our coattails for real. Now that we looking back at it later, but anyway, Stacey Davis Gates and Brandon was kind of riding our coattails from when we were doing the Laquan McDonald protests. If you remember all the protests we was doing downtown, Brandon was down there representing CTU, a part of our protest that we organized, right?
Okay.
So that allowed CTU to be able to be like, oh, this is what we fighting for, and yada yada yada, and that really contributed to his success today. Because
so he used y'all work as leverage.
to really make that their agenda.
Right.
So CTU hijacked basically all of the police protests, the education when I look back at all
like this is what they was pushing.
Yes.
So now and that's why so many people turn on him now, because now they looking at him to uphold those core values, and no, it never really existed. Like y'all,
correct.
He just basically did.
It never existed. Yeah, they wanted to take power. They wanted to take power, right? Whereas we thought they were allies back then as we youngins, right? You know what I'm saying?
Tight on.
But they really wanted to take power.
So
that's what they
really
did.
Be cut though back though.
That's how it is. That's how it is. That's politics in the city of Chicago. So so Stacey Davis Gates, who's the head of the teacher union, she wanted to run for mayor, and the polls show that nobody liked her. So she chose Brandon, which is next in line, and she put Brandon up. And so they cut his hair, because he never cut his hair. He was he's always looking crazy. And they made him today. If you see who he was, when you look at old Brandon Johnson pictures and look at him today, he's totally different. They had to make him a whole makeover to be mayor of Chicago, because they wanted to take power.
Wow.
And they spent millions of, $10 million and bought the election, and they did.
And I was just going to say, now that they got that power, however ways they did it, you feel like they misusing it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the difference is like, the issue is we allow the people with agendas to buy this seat, to fool people to believe that they're for the people when they're really for their agenda. You know what I'm saying? And they had an agenda walking in. They didn't have an agenda for the people. That's the difference. When I run for mayor, like, there's no union, there's nobody that I'm beholden to, right? Brandon was literally chosen by the people he was beholden to. He never wanted to be mayor, right? So he literally was like, Brandon, we finna make you mayor, right?
Damn.
And so, like, when you're a puppet like that, right?
Yeah.
You're only gonna be able to do
what they
allow you to do, because you didn't wake up and say, all right, I'm running for mayor for the people. Like, that's not what his goal was.
Right.
So, when you look at all the things that have happened since, from the migrant money, right? He's signed off with his hands over $1 billion in migrant spending in a couple of years, right? And you can't walk in power and say you care about black people or you care about the neighborhoods,
right,
but then give out so much money in so little bit of time, and you have no comparison to an amount that you've given out to the communities that's even in comparison in that time. When have we ever seen that type of investment in our communities? Let's think about it. 2 years, let's just say $500 million per year. When have you seen, walk in our neighborhoods, you got abandoned buildings, you got them abandoned school buildings that sat there for years, and guess what they did with them abandoned buildings? They turned them into migrant shelters.
Churches and everything.
They sat there with these buildings that's been there since 2013, and they waited for a migrant crisis to make a migrant shelters. I mean, like, when I say,
did they create a migrant crisis that on the higher ups, like outside of, because I know they go
for sure.
You think they created it?
It was all created. So what happened was, Joe Biden, and these are the facts. Joe Biden laxed the rules at the border, right? And that's why a lot of people were coming over the border. All they had to do was claim refuge and basically say, I'm running for my country, right? So if they claim refuge on the application, then they were set for hearings for, to go to court to see if we'll let them in, right? But since there were millions that came in, we didn't have enough hearing officers to be able to have them hearings. So what happens is that most people came in, it would take years for them to get a hearing. So in the meantime, since you type refuge, we gotta house you, clothe you, feed you. We gotta do everything for you, give you medical care, because you're not gonna have a hearing for years. That means that if you don't have a hearing, then you can't get a job waiver, right? So you can't technically work. You are just here waiting on a hearing for years, and we're gonna take care of you until you have a hearing.
So the question is, why? Why would they do something as stupid as that? Why would they do something that they know would cause a problem like that? Like, what would be the ultimate goal?
That is a good question. There are a few conspiracies in this, right? Okay. One of the conspiracies is they're trying to create a new voter base, right? A new base of people in regards to politics to help them win, right? So that's one of the reasons, that it was a political agenda tied to it, in which we allowed these millions of people to come over, and then Kamala wins. Right. Then Kamala wins, then we can start to change, because they've already had bills and things that they've pushed to say that we believe even if you're an immigrant and you pay taxes, you should be able to vote. So what happens is we give them the ability to be here, and then we give them a right to vote.
I said that it's basically like buying their loyalty. Like,
correct.
I had just noticing this. Like, I feel like certain parties felt like they was losing the black vote. They was losing certain.
Correct.
You feel me? So it was like, okay.
And the Democrats have a lot.
Yeah. So it was basically like, okay, let's fill them in. Let's overfeed them. Let's give them basically the same thing they did when they was.
That's what they did to black people.
The same thing they did to black people. It's like, okay, so now y'all.
They go food stamps, they go housing.
I know you a male, but y'all ain't fucking with us no more. So we finna go over here. We finna get all of them. We finna take care of them. So now we finna buy their loyalty for the next 400 years.
100%. Because that's what they did to black people. Why do you think our grandmas still vote Democrat? Because their loyalty was bought years ago. And so they beholden to the Democrats. But we've only been Democrat for like 50, 60 years. Like before that, we were Republicans. So we were made Democrats because the Democrats bought us off with the bill. Right. You know what I'm saying? The civil rights bill and the different things. So they said, okay, well, we're going to turn to Democrats. And then the Democrats brought in welfare and all these different things to buy our loyalty.
Yep, and then put in stipulations to our detriment.
Yeah, for sure.
You get it? You had to have like all type of stipulations that.
Yeah, you can't have a man in the house, and you can't, so now now we breaking up the black family. And
now
we're
dealing with the repercussions of it today.
Yes, we are.
For sure.
100%.
Yeah. Back into politics. Okay, so you talked about what made you interested. So what was the point between the activism when you decided, like, okay, I'm finna run for mayor, like I could do this? Like, at what point was it like the Chase Bank situation, the Laquan McDonald conviction? Like, at what point was it like, okay, I got enough power to do this?
After the Laquan McDonald situation, one of the biggest things when because Ron was like, I'm running again. Okay. And I looked at the race, and I looked at everybody in the race, and I was like, oh, hell no, they finna let this man just become mayor again. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, no, somebody got to get in the race. I'm getting in the race, right? And I'll be the voice for black people, right? So it never was like I said, it never was something that I wanted to do, but it was the circumstance of I knew Rahm Emanuel could not be mayor again after what he did with Laquan McDonald, what he did with shutting down 50 schools, what he did with shutting down every mental health facility, like how his decisions that he made as mayor, is no way we should allow him to be mayor again. And that's what made me run for mayor.